Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching a Tarnation TV production. Commentary by the Flat Out Racing Network. This is the Talladega Challenge at the Rolling Thunder Gaming Racing League. Race number 4 of season number 68. A lot of crazy stuff happens, so we're glad that you could join us this evening here on a Thursday night. And without further ado, I will continue on by saying my name is Blaine Donlan, joined by the Flat Out Racing Network crew, handling the majority of the talking this evening, Sir Kyle Matthews and Sir Seth Cole.
And only 3 races into the season, and if you are a race fan, it has been nothing short of enjoyable. Kyle, we ended up having, I guess we'll call it the Survival Fest in the first race. We had the race that was all about execution, where we only had 1 caution in the second race, and then last week we were treated to the closest finish of the season, 6 1/1000ths of a second, the photo finish between Grant Wesley and Michael Norman. I guess the biggest question coming into tonight is, what else can we possibly see that we haven't already seen in the first 3 weeks?
I'll tell you, that's the beauty of this series. Every time you think you've seen it all, you know, these guys always manage to surprise us and give us something to talk about for the coming week. And yeah, I don't know how they could follow up the finish from last week, but I'm sure they can find a way.
3 drivers have gone to victory lane in the first 3 races, all making potential plans for the postseason. Of course, this is one of the rare occasions where we will run 9 regular season races. Normally we only run 8. There's usually an off week somewhere in the middle of it. So still, including tonight, 6 more opportunities for drivers to potentially win their way into the playoffs. I think it's safe to say Nofsker, Wesley, Kelly Causey, we know they're capable of winning multiple races in a season. We've seen it before, but I think it's safe to say with another 40-car field here tonight, I'd certainly seem in favor of a 4th different winner.
Yeah, they're definitely capable of going out and winning multiple races, but as competitive as this series is, that is a very difficult task in itself right there. There's just so much talent in this series. Anybody can go out there and win on a given week. So that's one of the things that just makes the series so exciting to watch.
Now, these drivers, obviously, a number of them worked diligently these first 3 weeks in making sure they were up in the top 30 in points. Why? Because coming into tonight, we no longer resort to last season's top 30 point standings to lock yourself into the field. Tonight, it was based off of this season's top 30 in points to lock yourself into the field. So that will be obviously a running trend going forward for the remainder of the season. 66 laps await these drivers here tonight. Brand new paint scheme in the field, going to start on the pole position. Of course, we are 7 days, 1 week removed from the shocking news, the passing of NASCAR Cup Series champion Kyle Busch, and Brian Schilling bringing out the blue and yellow Kellogg's Chevrolet in tribute to Kyle Busch, and it just seems appropriate that in the random qualifying draw, they put that Chevrolet on the pole.
Yeah, it is. That is the paint scheme that Kyle Busch drove to his very first victory in the Cup Series back in 2005 at the California Speedway. Technically, it was the 2006 primary paint scheme, but they decided to have a preview of the following year, and they ran that at a few races in 2005, and it worked out quite well for Kyle Busch and on the Labor Day weekend of that year.
Well, Brian comes into this race 14th in points, only 1 top 10 in these first 3 races. Maybe this scheme will give him that little bit of luck you said gave KB the luck back in the mid-2000s. He will share the front row with Pat McCarsky, Graham McDonald, and Greg Palmer. They're going to be row number 2. Tim Anderson, Bobby Farrell in row 3. Mark Paglia joins Ken Roberts in row 4. Last week's winner, Grant Wesley, will complete the top 10 in that 5th row with Bernie Mobbs. Joe DeSpirito, he's back in row 6 alongside of Michael Norman, who was runner-up in that photo finish last week. Javi Negron, Craig Hagley, they're row 7 with Richard Martin, Dennis McCarthy in row 8. The defending champion has won the last 2 championships. Chuck McClure is back in row 9 with Donnie Garrett. Your top 20 completed by Billy Elliser and Mike Mangialardi. Jeff Cravello is back in row 11 alongside of Josh Metallic. Doug Hewlick and Robert Breedlove make up row 12. Row 13 will be Ulysses Sandoval and Rod Weston, Glenn Harris and Randy Waugh.
Luigi.
They're back in row 14 with the top 30 completed with Denny Carroll and our winner from 2 weeks ago, Kelly Causey. Bob Simonero's back in row 16 alongside the season opening winner Tim Nofsker. Ron Hagel and Cody Lamas, row 17. Row 18 finds Brian Lovell, John Godfrey. Row 19, Greg Lovell, Keith Bynum. And making up the 40-car field here tonight will be Robert Spring and Jeremy Jeffries. 3 races in the books. The 4th race ready to be run. Driver number 4 leads us to the green.
And Brian Schilling got a really good start there on the bottom. Almost too good of a jump right there. The 33 couldn't keep up with him right there, but it's going to work out for him. He's going to be the clear leader on the exit of turn 2.
I was going to say, we'll see if Brian stays low or moves up to that middle groove that we normally see the race leader do. He did not. Graham McDonald did, and those Dodges will hook up and at least into turn 3, 33 by a splitter into the entrance of the corner.
Now Schilling got a good push right there from Tim Anderson, put him back out front. Looks like Schilling's going to stay on the bottom. You usually see the leader jump to that second, to the second line right there, but Schilling elects to stay on the bottom, and that's going to work out for him as he's going to lead lap number 1.
Valuable bonus points this season as we've documented, but of course as well, first time this season they have implemented stage points at the halfway portion of this race. Completion of lap 33, the top 10 in the point standings end up getting 10 through 1 bonus points. And we also found out from Rodney Sullins this past week, we kind of gave a little half information in terms of how the playoffs are going to work this season and going forward. We were correct in giving the information that the top 16 in the point standings, regardless of if they have won or not, will be a part of the playoffs, and any driver 17th through 20th in points with a victory would get in through a wild card spot. One thing that we failed to mention is that in the 6 playoff races to come, there will be no elimination races. It will be just 6 races in total. The driver with the most points accumulated in those 6 races will win the championship, which in some ways is probably a blessing, in some ways is a curse for these drivers, because at least if you end up running into problems in the first or second playoff races, you have those extra races later on to maybe gain those points back. The other thing is, though, you're going to have to at least deal with 15 other competitors throughout those races, rather than it just being the original 12 down to 8 and then only 3 other competitors to deal with in the final 2 races. So it makes things a lot more difficult, and I think probably going to put a lot more emphasis on consistency than it has been in seasons past.
Oh, definitely. And at least they won't have the pressure of, being eliminated, after, after 2 races every round that it was before. So at least there's that. And then for us, as we were talking before we went on air, a little bit less things we have to calculate. So that's good for us.
Like our top 8 have gotten themselves single-filed out. 9th place on back. They are 3 wide, 3 to 4 rows deep. Bobby Farrell on the bottom, Graham McDonald in the middle. Remember, he was leading that outside line at the early portion, trying to take the lead from Brian Schilling. He and McCarskey got stuck in the middle. Greg Palmer, Ken Roberts are trying to make something happen in that third line. But you can see that starting to fade and dissolve into the middle groove here. So we're starting to settle into double file formation back just outside of the top 10.
There was a third line forming right there. There still is a little bit toward the back right there. Saw the 31 of Bernie Mobbs was leading that. It's pulled back in line behind the 43. Looks like where you want to be is on the bottom right now. They've got the most cars, but it's not going to take long for that third groove to get going.
And now we got a move being made up at the front. Last week's winner, Grant Wesley, up to the outside of Mark Paglia's Ford. He's got help from fellow Chevrolet Bowtie Joe DeSpirito, the Toyota of Javier Negron, the Chevy of Chuck McClure up there, and the numbers are definitely gaining in that middle groove. 3 down the bottom, about 6, 7, 8, 9 drivers all lined up nose to tail in that middle line.
Looks like Grant Wesley might lead this lap here. Yes, he does. Trying to carry that momentum he had from winning last week into tonight. Got to be breathing a sigh of relief after getting that victory. These guys got to be feeling a little bit more freedom to be able to take some more risks now that they have a win.
And we've seen that
basically
so many
lock
times.
them in.
That safety net, I guess we would call it. Grant coming into this race second in points, 3 points behind Tim Nofsker, and That was something that Grant actually talked to us about last week as well, is not only do you have the freedom, but it also gives you the incentive now to go out there and win more races, because when the playoffs are put together, there will be a added number of bonus points for where you finish in the regular season standings. There are also 3 extra bonus points given out for every victory you have during the course of the regular season. So for a lot of these drivers that have already won, you keep accruing those bonus points, you could end up securing the number 1 seed once the playoffs are put together at the conclusion of race 9.
Yeah, I like the incentive putting in here for going out and winning races. Gives you gives you a little bit more freedom after you get yourself locked in, and then go out there and try to add to a potential lead you might have heading into the playoffs.
Yes, they are. Big wreck back there. That's Bernie Mobbs up into the outside wall. It's like he might have been the only one that completely spun around. Some others might have gotten bits and pieces, but there's really only one driver slow leaving the scene of the accident with damage, at least visible damage.
And that's that Spring back throwback there as well. 74 there, the Terry Labonte throwback. I don't know if he was involved or not, or just slowed.
That's crazy that didn't collect more cars. Holy moly.
Especially being a wreck in the corner.
That looked bigger than what it was.
It's like that classic stack up on the bottom, starting all the way up with the 92 of Bobby Farrell.
We saw that happen last week with the one and only caution that we had in the race last week was a caution from a stack up. And
looks like Rod Weston got a hold of the 31. That was the only car that came into contact with.
Robert Spring did get into him a little bit there, but
that was Tim Knopfsker, the orange 088 that was behind Bernie Mobbs. He was, I think, the 6th car in line in that whole stack up. Bernie actually almost had it saved. But when he got down in the transition of the apron, it got the car light and ended up spinning him around. Yeah, really impressive. I think that, at least according to scoring, Bernie Mobbs was around the 17th position at the time. So that's right in the middle of the field. And to have about the second half of the pack behind a car that's spinning up the banking on the exit of a corner, and us to get away with only about, 2 cars that made contact with the 31. Nothing that looked like it's going to be any extensive damage to take somebody out of the race. Very, very surprising that more drivers were not involved.
Looks like everybody most people coming down pit road. A couple guys deciding to stay out here. Pat McCarthy's going to stay out and get a bonus point. Looks like 4 cars total staying out right now.
Yeah, that's Billy Elliser in the 26, Cody Lamas the 48, Rod Weston the 19, all staying out the extra lap here. A whole bunch of Dodges and then Cody.
Gotta remember too to thank our donation too. Anonymous donor sponsors this entire season 68. And all they wanted was that cool graphic that we show. So thank you very much.
Grant Wesley winning the battle off of pit road. I had him pop up in our FRN YouTube chat, and apparently was having some issues prior to this race. Had to enlist some help disabling his DEP after a Windows update, and Jason Scheck apparently gave up his seat so that way Grant Wesley is able to race here tonight.
Wow.
What was the issue?
Apparently his DEP was re-enabled after a Windows update, so he had to disable it again.
See, I didn't think that needed to be done anymore. I guess it depends how you install the game, I think, because I never had to do it this time around.
A friend of ours, Anthony McCrory, the first time he installed the game on his new computer, didn't have to disable it, and then a couple of weeks ago he had to re-disable it. So I don't know what it is, but I guess it's a new thing for Windows updates where it's re-enabling the DEP.
Yeah, I don't know what I did where I didn't have to do that this time around. Ah, well. Good old Microsoft.
Grant will be the leader when we go back green. Joe DeSpirito second, Brian Schilling in third. Michael Norman will be fourth with Graham McDonald in fifth. We talk about how difficult it is, especially in a super speedway series, to maintain consistency. Well, so far, no driver has finished in the top 5 in all 3 races so far this season. Only 2 drivers have managed to finish in the top 10 in these first 3 races. Tim Nosker, the current points leader, would be one of them. The other one, Michael Norman, who's sitting third in the point standings, 21 points back. And, with all the hard luck Michael had last season, this has been absolutely a turnaround season for him.
Yeah, Michael's off to an incredible start. You mentioned right there 3 top 10s to start the season. Almost won it last week, and that exciting finish. And interesting enough, the first three races of the season, Michael was not locked in. Like, he had to qualify his way into the show each of the first 3 weeks. Now he's locked in thanks to those strong performances. We were talking to him a little bit earlier before we went on air. He just feels so relieved that he doesn't have to go through that anymore.
Yeah, it's the one thing that maybe a little frustrating for a driver to have to go through a difficult season only to be able to then finally find the luck the following season. But it is fun from a spectator point of view to see drivers be able to find that success. Another driver that's going to restart inside of the top 10, Mark Pagley in the 28. We saw him so many times during the course of the last 2 seasons, really running up at the front, consistently in the conversation for the win, and then running into late race issues. 3 races into the season, he's currently sitting in the 6th position in points. He is currently 39 points out of the points lead. Another driver out of the Ford camp that is looking really good, and it's been a long time since Mark Pagley has last been to victory lane. We saw a couple of weeks ago Kelly Causey snap a long winless streak, so the 28 might be able to do that. Some other drivers that have been putting together a good start to the season, Graham McDonald, Craig Hagley, 9th and 10th in the point standings. These are drivers that last season were struggling to stay up in the top 15 in the overall standings, and great to see them off to a good start here in season 68. Green flag back in the air. Good timing there, really, by both drivers in that second lane. Schilling getting up to the back of Wesley, Norman getting up to the back of DeSpirito, but that inside line, the shorter way around the racetrack, will at least prevail through turns 1 and 2.
When Brian Schilling has the restart gear here tonight, we saw at the very start of the race that he got up to a really good jump on the very start, and he was ready to go on that restart right there. Give it a good push to Grant Wesley, who's gonna take the lead right now.
In the Tarnation TV chat, we got Keith Uploads, rooting for the 931. Let's go, that's my dad, the 931 car, they say. So thank you for watching and commenting live. And whatever's going on the FRN side of things, you guys can see that stuff.
It looks like Robert is 27th right now. That's where he restarted. We had Milt Saran in our chat as well, said he was sitting 43rd place, just barely missed out on qualifying for tonight's race, as he was outside of the top 30 in the standings. So what that means that later on in this race, we're going to get the Who Ya Got Sarat prediction in our chat, hopefully. Just checking scoring here as well. I did notice, I believe it was under that caution period, the 17 of Chuck McClure, he dropped out of the TeamSpeak. I didn't see if he dropped out of the NR2003 server, but it looks like maybe he did. Scoring is currently showing him 40th, 1 lap down. Now, being under yellow, they may actually add that lap back to him manually here. We'll keep you updated if indeed that's the case, or if he will remain -1 and have to rely on a caution to be able to get the free pass via the lucky dog.
He's been having some connection issues the last few races. I remember seeing him, seeing his car blink for a few seconds here a couple of times already this season. So hopefully you can get whatever those issues are sorted out.
And we saw him have that issue a few times last season, too. I don't think it ever got to the point where he actually fell out of the server, but we would see him reappear after disappearing for a time, a number of occasions last season, and it went on to win the championship. So I guess
wasn't that bad of an issue.
Yeah, it's obviously it's a hindrance, but if at the end of the season it's going to get you the championship trophy, I guess you'll take it.
Looks like we're having a replay of last week's finish here. Michael Norman underneath Grant Wesley looking for the race lead. And looks like he led it right there. So I think
he got that photo finish.
first lap Michael has led this season, amazingly enough. I mean, we talk about the good finishes, but he hadn't been up front until now.
Last race in that post-race interview. Did you have you ever heard Norman speechless?
It takes a lot.
It does. It takes a lot.
He was 6/1000ths of a second that Grant got Michael by last week, coming to the checkered flag.
Mm-hmm.
That lap, 8/1000ths of a second. Michael over Grant Wesley to lead that lap.
Doesn't matter how often we do this. Now.
So I think what we've established is if we see the 30 and the 88 side by side coming out of turn 4 on the final lap of any race, get the yardstick out.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how often we play this thing. This race right here, it's a tough one to win, man, and he was that close. And being Grant Wesley, who's no stranger to winning here, that's pretty awesome.
No stranger to photo finishes either. I remember being a part of a race with Grant Wesley where he ended up winning, and it was triple zeros behind the decimal point.
Wow. I wonder if there's a fourth decimal point that we just can't see, or if the game just throws a coin in the air.
There has to be, because we've seen so many times in a qualifying session, drivers clocking in with the same lap time, and it's like, well, how do they determine who's above who if they all have the same 3 numbers after the decimal point? There's got to be something in the programming that goes to the nearest 10,000th, and we just can't see it.
10,000th.
First time we mentioned Greg Palmer all night, I think. Somehow he was able to work his way in front of Grant Wesley, now out in front, showing the way in this race. Greg coming into this race 17th in the point standings. 1 top 5, 2 top 10s in these first 3 races. Remember, he missed the season opener. He was overseas, so he's done a pretty good job of gaining back those points he lost on week 1.
Trying to make up for lost time right there. Doing a good job of it right now. And that inside line is completely disintegrated almost right there. Brian Schilling trying to lead that one right there. He's got Michael Norman a little bit far behind him right there. Now Brian gets up to that middle lane.
And just a couple cars behind Brian is the Michael Waltrip throwback, Jeremy Jeffries. Didn't he roll off the grid dead last?
He did, yes.
He's up in the top 10.
According to the stats, too, Jeffries gained, 15 spots after last week's race?
He did, yeah. That's his first top 5 of the season.
I know Kazi lost 12 spots, but he also missed a race. Jeffries hadn't missed any races, but had such a good finish last week. He gained 15 positions on the point standings overall. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and 2 drivers. Actually, I think Jeremy also falls into this category. Jeremy gained 15. Bernie Mobbs and Donnie Garrett both gained 11, and that moved all 3 of them up above the 30th in the standings cut line. If they had had another bad race last week, they would have had to race their way in on time into tonight's race. They're trying to get something going on that inside line. Schilling keeps jumping down there. Metallic jumped down there momentarily. Now he's got some help from Jeremy Jeffries. Oh, he got some help, all right.
He got a little too much help right there. Great save by Metallic, still on the apron. Gets back up to the racetrack, keeping it together. Very nice.
Great save there by the papaya orange Arrow McLaren throwback there. That would have made Pato proud.
Heads up play by everybody on the track, too, to realize he was going to be coming back in the corner, so they all gave him a couple of lanes to float back in there. That shows you the skill of everybody on the track here at RTG. It's just amazing, little stuff like that, you know.
He was 10th at the time of that contact. He'll fall back to around 22nd, but that could have been a lot worse.
From 10th to 21st, yep.
And Roberts now trying to make a move down there on the inside. It doesn't look like they're getting enough numbers down there to be able to make a charge. They'll have one or two drivers that will jump down there. Now there's more making some moves up ahead of him there. Donnie Garrett, Richard Martin. Well, as soon as I say that, Brian Schilling and Mark Paglia go back up to the top. So they're just not being able to stay formed up to be able to make a charge against that middle groove.
So they got a good number of cars on the bottom right now. The only question is, will they stay down there to try to make that line work?
And Roberts in that 55 third car on the inside line. Whoa, my goodness, the chain bumping there from the 55 to the 43 to the 77 got Donnie so squirrely he might have actually made contact with the driver's side of Brian Schilling.
I think he did right there. That was awfully close. Incredible save by both of them to keep it going.
We've talked about in the past, this Men Cup 2019 mod, the easiest mod to be able to push with. Maybe a little too easy here tonight. These guys, normally the push goes to shove in the second half of the race. It's happening here 20 laps in.
Oh, they could definitely push with this mod.
Meanwhile, kind of uneventful for the front runners here. Palmer, Wesley, Despirito. How about Javier Negron right now? The highest of the Toyotas in the 4th position. And Schilling, who had that near moment with Donnie Garrett just a couple of corners ago. Right now in the 5th position. Donnie Garrett trying to get the inside line going again. The 3rd line forming back around the 15th spot, led by Robert Breedlove and Jeremy Jeffries. Left all by his lonesome in the middle, starting to fade back towards outside of the top 20.
See Chuck McClure back out there. Not sure if he lost any more laps or not. He's back out there right away.
Yeah, looks like he is still being scored 1 lap down. He is still awaiting a caution to get back on the lead lap. He might actually, with what we're seeing here, he was tail end of the field on the restart. He's now made his way about halfway up through the pack. He may be looking to get his lap back the hard way.
Do they give that back, though? Because wouldn't that be considered a mechanical failure?
See, the thing of it is, I don't necessarily know what the ruling is as opposed to it happening under green flag or caution. At least it looked like when we were looking back at the replay of what brought the first caution, like that was the time that Chuck McClure fell out of the server.
Right.
I think you get your lap back if that's the case. If you end up falling out under green, then I think you end up having to earn, you get all the one lap back and you have to earn that lap back. Now, granted, he may have actually fallen out of the server before he fell out of the TeamSpeak. So he may have actually fallen out under green just prior to that caution coming out, which might be why he's still trapped -1.
Right. Just watching that 3rd line move in there, 931, Robert Breedlove. In good company with Kazi and Seminara and Godfrey.
Grant Wesley has taken the lead. Second time he's been out front tonight already.
It looks like maybe Greg Palmer got caught out there. Grant got to his inside, and the rest of the top 5 made their way around the 22. He's now slotted into 6th behind Richard Martin in front of Ken Roberts. And a big reason, I think, why that move was made is everybody's migrated to the bottom of the racetrack because we are closing in on when these drivers are going to have to start thinking about coming to pit road for green flag pit stops. We had that early caution, which has extended our normal distance that these drivers can go, but we are very quickly approaching that 19 to 20 lap window since we went back green. A couple of drivers have lost touch with the lead pack. Bernie Mobbs, who we saw get up into the outside wall, the only caution we've had so far. Pat McCarsky has seemingly lost the draft, and we saw Rod Weston get a little bit of contact with the 31. Looks like he is still being able to barely stay in touch with the draft off both the 26 and the 21. Might just be currently riding here just inside of that 1.2 second window to still be able to get the tow and remain in the lead group.
Still got a second line going right there. Looks like Breedlove is still leading that line. Kind of surprised we're seeing this right, seeing two lines right now. As you mentioned, we are coming up on green flag pit stops. I think most people will try to get to the bottom in preparation for those stops.
Well, in the case of Robert Breedlove, it looks like he was one of the drivers under that yellow that came back down at the 1 to green to top off. So he should be able to go another lap further than a lot of the drivers ahead of him. I think Josh Metallic has also made 2 pit stops. Same for Craig Hagley. Kelly Causey has not, unless he was able to save some fuel to go the extra lap here under this run, as Bernie Mobbs saw them come around to lap him. He's actually bringing his car down pit road as we speak.
Oh, Godfrey, Pagula, and Oscar tangled up. Godfrey redesigned the pit road entrance and missed.
That's going to hurt this group. This is a relatively small pack of cars that came down pit road, and it's going to be even smaller here, probably about half the size leaving as it was coming into pit road. You want to come down pit road with friends, but you also want to make sure they are with you when you're leaving pit road, because that's how you make up the speed and keep your chances alive of being in the main pack. Speaking of main pack,
come the
just
leaders.
about the entire pack coming down pit road this
Wesley.
time.
Holy moly.
I think Jeffries may have hit the inside wall a little bit there.
I think he did. He had to really get on the race. Whoa!
Randy
Spring
Waugh.
got some help.
Robert Spring in the 74 as well. And further up, Billy Elliser, Rod Weston getting together. A couple of dodges.
Not dodging anything, apparently.
No. That's why we say pit road is just as, if not more treacherous than the racetrack, which, when they're going 3 wide, several rows deep at a super speedway, might sound crazy, but it's true.
I'm going to go back on a replay here and check the speed at which Wesley hit that commitment line.
There's Metallic coming down pit road. A bunch of others.
yes.
Oh, the 41.
Yep.
Denny Carroll.
105. Speed limit's 55. Wesley hit it at 105.
Somebody else with a problem there. It's couldn't tell who that was. The 44.
Brian Lovell.
Yeah, and pit road, very a lot of issues on pit road so far tonight. That is surprising.
And you mentioned it, Kyle. Last week, we only had the 1 caution. 2 weeks ago, we only had the 1 caution. If we continue that trend, all these drivers that have run into issues on pit road here, not much of a safety net for them.
Wesley
and,
coming
there
back
you go.
down. Was he speeding?
Grant Wesley, you said it, Blaine. 105 coming in. Looks like that was a little too fast to get it woed up to the 55 and avoid the black flag. There's such a thing as hot pitting a little too deep, and I think he may have overstepped the edge.
Say Wesley's one of the best when it comes to hot pitting, but just like you mentioned, just overstepped it there.
Just a little bit. He doubled the speed. It's a 55 mile an hour speed limit, and he was doing 100. So he's right on 54 the whole way through that time, so he should be all right. Dennis McCarthy also getting hit with a penalty in the 024.
I think Robert Breedlove can also be added to that list. I also saw Billy Elliser coming back down pit road, and the 044 of Brian Lovell is slow. He may have actually missed his pit stall after the contact the first time around, having to coast the thing. Fortunately, had enough fuel to make another lap.
He may have ran out of fuel a little bit there.
Robert Breedlove also being shown a black flag as well.
Graham McDonald's in. Tim Anderson is in. So it looks like a number of drivers serving some pass-through penalties.
Who is the leader, you asked? The 24 of Despirito.
And we had a group of, about 35, 36 drivers when the green flag pit stop cycle began. We now have about 7 drivers in the lead group. They'll probably double in size. There's a second pack that is about to reel them in, but it looks like if everybody is able to draft up to that top 7, we're going to go from about 30 plus drivers to probably about 20 drivers in the lead group.
The plot thickens. Lap number 33 coming up, by the way, too. So remember that top 10 gets bonus points.
It's a good point, really good point, and that's important for that second group that was able to catch the top 7.
And there was guys in that top 10 like Wesley who are nowhere near those bonus points now.
We talked about that comfort that drivers that are able to go to victory lane early on in the season have, and maybe makes them feel like they can take those risks, maybe be a little bit more aggressive coming to pit road, maybe a little bit more aggressive for a move, and sometimes it pays off. In the case here for the 88, it clearly did not, as the proverbial white flag for the halfway point in the air. So next time around, top 10 finishers will get themselves some valuable stage points, which could play pivotal into them running for the championship, making the postseason at the conclusion of the 9th race.
Let's put the 26, Billy Ellis are a lap down right there, and I haven't seen any move yet from Donnie Garrett to try to take the stage. Boy, there was a 880 and the 43 got really close right there.
Whoa, Kelly Causey on the apron.
Oh, boy.
He and Jeremy Jeffries got together. That was around the 10th position, I think.
Right, trying to get, here comes Palmer making a move. It's to Spirito.
Gonna get him, I think.
Spirito will
Palmer
get the
got him.
stage. Then Garrett. Looks like Negron. Nope, correction. Palmer did get third. Then Negron, Ken Roberts, Richard Martin, Cody Lamas, Greg Lovell, Craig Hagley, and Jeremy Jeffries, who was in that vicinity where Kelly Causey had to gather it up, is going to snipe the final stage point.
Where did Cody come from? Getting some stage points right there. I don't know if he's locked or not, but that's to make the race each week. I don't know if he's in the top 30 in points or not, but that's going to help his cause for sure.
19th in points coming into tonight, so is indeed locked in. Still searching for his first top 10 of the season, however.
Is this the first season they've ever done this midway stage thing?
It is.
That's
the
a
first
cool
time
idea.
they've ever done that.
That's a cool idea because it's just a one-lap thing, little bonus points. They don't pull out a yellow flag or anything. It's just kind of a neat little bonus.
What makes it cool too is the fact that, normally when these drivers take the green flag, all they got to strategize for is being up there at the front at the completion of lap 66. Now it gives them something else they have to think about in terms of pit strategy. How do I work it that I'm up front at the completion of lap 33 as well?
And they've put it at it's midway through the race, but it's also not going to really be inside like a pit cycle, really, because you're not like at the end. It's not like it was like lap 20. Like that would have been kind of gnarly if they put it at lap 20, because everybody's flirting with running out of fuel, but then it might happen on pit road, and so 33 is a good number.
Something I was noticing just moments ago. Got that outside line there with Josh Metallic, Chuck McClure, and Kelly Causey. There is some side to side from Chuck McClure, and I saw Kelly Causey pull up to the back bumper to try and give him a push, and with that little side to side, he almost bumper grabbed Kelly. So Chuck's trying to fight to get one of those lucky dogs still. He is the first car one lap down.
Oh, Cody Lamas.
Cody Lamas! Back up into traffic, gets Keith Bynum, Tim Nofsker, Graham McDonald. Caution will wait for the second time.
Well, I'm going to take the blame for that one.
The broadcaster's curse.
That commentator's curse strikes again, yep.
Caution will save Chuck McClure and Billy Elliser. They were the first two drivers one lap down. This will help drivers that were hit with those black flags like Grant Wesley and Dennis McCarthy to remain on the lead lap. The list was quickly growing of those that needed the yellow, and they were able to get it.
On board with Lamas. In the replay.
Him and Bob Seminara got together.
Almost looked like Seminara got such a run, he thought about making the move on Cody, and I don't know if he second-guessed himself, tried to tuck back in line, but the bumpers were not even, and the 712 certainly had a lot more speed with the push he was getting from Michael Norman.
Yeah, he just caught him.
I'm not sure if Cody made a reactionary move low or not. Doesn't really look like it.
Looks like he held his line, yeah.
Looked like Seminara just got a really good run right there. Just really had no choice but to go with it. Had Michael right behind him.
Nowhere for Nofsker to be able to go. Pretty good shot in the driver's side door for the points leader. Keith Bynum up into the outside wall. And Graham McDonald, who I mentioned was having a really good start to the season, 9th in the standings, getting a piece of this also. More so just self-inflicted damage up into the outside wall as he had to go all the way up there to avoid both the spinning 48 and 63.
Well, something interesting about this wreck there, I was just told by Michael that Cody's screen had went dark, like right as that wreck happened too. So
that does kind of make sense as well, because I noticed just briefly before the contact between him and Seminara, it looked like the 48 was slowing a bit. So that does make sense.
Screen went dark, you said. So he had like a problem locally.
Yeah, at the moment that Seminara makes contact with him, Cody is at 191.
Oh.
The car in front of him is over 200, and Bob's at 202. So yeah, definitely. Looks like what you just said, Kyle, definitely occurred and played into that. I think Seminara may have actually made the move realizing the closing rate there.
I wonder, I don't know if maybe you hit the magic Alt F4 when that happens, just to quit. Like, oh my God, the screen went black, and then just get off the track, and Alt F4 is an application. It'll kill the application. Quick quit. But how fast do you make that decision? You're hoping to get the word out, and literally it happened that quick. It's not like you can really do anything. You speculate after the fact, like what you could have done, but like you said, 200 miles an hour, everything's happening so fast.
Now the drivers out in front here, McClure, Elliser, we know they're going to get the lucky dogs. But it's going to be interesting to see some of the other drivers behind that are a lap down. We went just a little under halfway through a fuel run there. Do they run the risk of taking the wave around here to get the lap back, or do they come to pit road and try and wait out for potential future yellow flags? Graham McDonald, Tim Anderson, John Godfrey, Brian Lovell, Robert Breedlove, Bernie Mobbs amongst those that could get back in the lead lap via the lucky dog, and it looks like a few of them are staying out and looking to do just that.
It's a bit of a gamble. I mean, we're just under our second caution. Had only one caution last week, and we saw toward probably the second half of last season, we didn't really get a lot of cautions, maybe one or two a race. So that is quite the risk they're taking, but we'll see if it works out.
Like 5 drivers in total are going to take the wave around. McDonald, Anderson, Godfrey, Lovell, and Breedlove. That potentially would put Robert Spring as the race leader, though he may have stayed out to get a lap led. Joe DeSpirito, who was the leader when the caution came out, has led 15 laps so far, is in second. So we'll see if Spring actually does stay out and decide to lead us to green here, or if he will turn over the lead to DeSpirito. I'm assuming this next time by will be coming to the 1 to green.
And race control has that executable on the server side where they can control the green flags, right?
Correct. I believe in the case of us having so many drivers off the lead lap, this would be one of the cases where they wouldn't necessarily expedite the number of caution laps just to make sure that everything is neat and tidy. They know exactly who's going to be on the lead lap and who isn't. So I'm assuming this next time by we'll get the one to green. You see Chuck McClure, Billy Ellis are up there on the outside line. They just took the service that they're able to as the free pass cars, and they'll go around and get their laps. And then the 5 drivers that have stayed out at this point, they will follow them around. And it will have us, I believe, with 39 of our 40 drivers on the lead lap when we go back green. Bernie Mobbs will be the only lap down machine on this upcoming restart. Robert Spring indeed down pit road. We talked about the fact that with the midway stage points that are given out, it's one extra thing for these drivers to have to think about. Well, starting next week, their plate gets even more loaded. So I believe next week, since we have the full 9-race regular season here in season 68, it'll be the start of the bracket challenge. The top 32 drivers in points will be accordingly seated in a bracket, which runs from next week all the way to the season finale. And we have seen a number of underdog victories. Drivers that get eliminated in the first round still have a shot down the loser side of the bracket to be able to participate in the finals. And we'll see if we're going to have any underdog stories here this season. I mean, if there's ever a type of race where the underdog can topple the savvy veteran, it's a super speedway race.
Yeah, and a bracket, challenge like you mentioned right there. Throw that on a super speedway, yeah, that's you're going to see more upsets than March Madness sometimes.
And the funny thing is, so many times we've talked to drivers, and we'll say, "Hey, you won the race, congratulations." They say, "Yep, that's great, but I also was able to beat the guy I'm battling in the bracket as well." I mean, it's a priority for these guys.
That is an awful lot to think about heading into a race. I mean, there's trying to win a race, locking yourself into the playoffs, thinking about your overall points position. Then there's, you get to the halfway point of the race, trying to get up there, trying to get stage point. And then you're trying to worry about who you're racing in the bracket. I mean, that's...
Oh, yeah, and by the way, drive the car at over 198 miles per hour.
That sounds like a good way to end up growing gray hair pretty early in your life, if you ask me.
Well, Joe DeSpirito, he ended up winning last year's season finale, former multi-time champion, looking to lock himself into the playoffs, looking for his first win on the season. He'll be leading his 17th lap when he brings us back to green. Donnie Garrett will restart to his outside. Ken Robertson third, Richard Martin fourth, Greg Palmer, Greg Lovell, Javier Negron, Craig Hagley, Brian Schilling, Jeremy Jeffries are going to be your top 10 as we get ready to go back green here. 25 laps to go here tonight at Talladega.
It's 25 laps to go. They still need to make one more pit stop, too.
It'll all be a matter of when to make that pit stop, especially if we run green to the finish. We've seen so many times the projected numbers would have us making that final pit stop somewhere around 5 to go, in which you would take only a half can of fuel on. But we've seen when we get down to numbers that close, sometimes drivers will step down to pit road a few laps prior to that and take on a can of fuel. So we could end up seeing that same scenario here tonight, as starting to get racy just outside the top 10. Glenn Harris moved up in front of that third line. Doug Hewlick will do the same. Mike Mangialardi is up there as they start scattering their way from 10th back to around 25th.
Had a good number of cars on that far outside line right there. Now there's only 3. Everybody abandoned that and went to the middle groove.
Big opportunity for a number of drivers that had issues during that cycle of pit stops. I see Denny Carroll down there on the inside line behind Kelly Causey. Remember, he ended up spinning coming to pit road. Grant Wesley in the middle in that 88 got the speeding penalty. He's starting to work his way back up to the front, so a lot of drivers, that caution was a saving grace for them, and they're trying to make the most of it.
We have another lead change. Ken Roberts has just taken the lead there. Got a good push there from Greg Palmer in the 22. Roberts going to lead this lap.
I mentioned about Ken, 7th in the points, 2 top 5s to kick off the season, the first 3 races, and don't forget, he came into this season having won in this mod at this racetrack the week prior in the Super Speedway All-Star race. He said at the end of that one he was going to be running full-time here in season 68, and to your point, Kyle, Fast Machine now out in clean air, maybe looking to lock himself a spot in the playoffs with a points-paying win here in the Tally Challenge.
Looks like that All-Star win just gave him all kinds of momentum, carried it into this season. And it looks like it's continuing right now as he's out in front.
Third line still trying to make something happen, but it doesn't look like they're making up a lot of ground. Ulick 3 wide with Mark Paglia and Josh Metallic. That's around 14th place.
Boy, Jeremy Jeffries just drove right across the nose of Joe DeSpirito right there. I mean, just barely had enough room to get in front of him.
Now, we've seen drivers make those quick moves here these first 3 weeks, but to your point, I think we're seeing a lot more darty moves here tonight. Well, Jeremy Jeffries, he's 18th in points coming into this race. Only 1 top 10, 1 top 5 in these first 3 races, and struggled last season too. We ended up seeing him be able to go to victory lane during the playoffs, but really did not have the overall season that he was looking for. A bit of a struggling start here to season 68 as well, and we've seen so many times, all you need is just that one good finish. Well, last week he got that one good finish. Was that the start of something here to build momentum for the former champion?
Very well could be. He's leading that inside line. Currently was scored in 6th position last time around. As we mentioned, he started shotgun on the field tonight, so it's been quite the uphill battle here for Jeremy Jeffries so far.
Ryan Schilling, who we saw start from the pole position, just a couple cars behind. And that Kyle Busch throwback. Kelly Causey, our winner from a couple of weeks ago, was the 4th car on that inside line, but he just jumped up to the middle groove in front of the 41 of Denny Carroll.
All 40 cars that started the race are still running. So far, nobody's retired. Bernie Mobbs is 1 lap down, though. The only car 1 lap down.
And his car is off the pace. We saw that back during the first green flag run after he was involved in the first caution of the evening. Bernie gained 11 spots in the standings after last week, jumped up to 23rd in points. Points are still super close here. Only 3 races into this early season. Granted, he's out there still running, but he is dead last. So he's going to be giving up a lot of points if things don't change here in these final 18 laps. It'll be interesting to see how many of those positions he potentially gives back. Hopefully for him, he doesn't fall out of the top 30 in points going into next week.
Bernie Mobbs does some great car paint work here in the community there. That 31 looks awesome.
Yeah, that nice Morgan Shepherd throwback. Morgan had back in the mid-90s driving for the Wood Brothers. He's actually the latest guest on the Dale Jr. download this week. Morgan Shepherd was. That was
really?
A good episode, yes.
I'm going to have to tune into that.
Yeah, we were hanging out at Tarnation TV. We were broadcasting on Monday Madness, the last Monday of every month. They have us over there at Open Speedway, and they were talking about how Junior used to race in that league 20 years ago. With the screen name, I can't remember. Unicell or something? Unicell 79? I can't remember what it was.
I think that's where the whole the media that he uses
The
for
Dirty
his
Mo.
podcast, Dirty
Yep.
Mo Posse. That's where it started with the NR2003 league that he raced in about 20 years ago and kept the name going.
Yeah, we were brought, and again, Open Speedway still going. Like Truex, Junior. There's somebody else in there too.
I think Denny Hamlin raced there for a time as well.
I believe it was Hamlin. Yeah. I wonder if any of these NR2003 broadcasts from any of the channels that broadcast this stuff, if they've ever crossed the YouTube feed of Dale Earnhardt Jr., he'd be like, "Wait a second, that game looks familiar." That thing's still going? Because that was my reaction after a few years, thinking it had gone away, and because I stepped away from it for a little while and saw a broadcast pop out. I'm like, wait a second, that's NASCAR 2003.
Yeah, even with the emergence of iRacing over the last 10 or so years, this game's still very popular in terms of online racing.
I wonder if it drove people back just because it's a freebie, right? It was abandoned, so some lap down rigs there. Beloved
confusing
Godfrey.
with those as well. They are well off the pace.
4 wide. Holy
Yikes.
moly. Deet. All in a day's work, gents.
I mean, I guess fortunate it was on a straightaway rather than in a corner, but, oh boy.
Yeah, they got sort of, usually the lap cars will go high, but they sort of got trapped down there, so just hold your line.
Tim Anderson coming to pit road, I noticed there, the 033.
So it looks like the 711 and the 931 were getting up to speed. Remember, they were some of the ones that took the wave around under that caution. The 33 of Tim Anderson, another one, Brian Lovell on pit road, Graham McDonald up ahead. So these drivers had to pit. They were running out of fuel. The caution that they were looking for, the quick yellow, did not happen.
That's the gamble they took right there, and unfortunately for them, it did not pay off.
I mean, honestly, I don't dislike the strategy because you were going to be a lap down anyway if you came to pit road under that yellow. Now you fall a lap down again, but there was always the chance, right, that you could be able to get yourself back on the lead lap, get back on the same fuel number as everybody else. And with the limited number of cautions that we've had these last couple of weeks, you kind of were boxed in to have to make that kind of a gamble.
But if it goes green the rest of the way, they should be able to make it.
Yes. Yeah, with pitting when they did. Wow.
Ryan Lovell right there, the 44, nearly.
Oh my!
Jeffries, and they're really squirming to avoid the 033. My goodness.
They actually went down below the yellow line. Did Jeremy and Brian, I believe. I don't know exactly how that gets scored. Normally, you're not supposed to go down there to advance your position, but with the speed they were carrying, I don't think that there was a lane to the middle for them to go. And you certainly can't run over the 033, so I feel like that's one of the cases where you're avoiding causing a caution. I don't think that's much of an issue, because they only advanced their position around the 033. They didn't really advance their position around the other drivers on the lead lap that they're battling.
Right, I would think because that car isn't the car you're going for, it would probably be okay.
Yeah, I think as an admin, I would turn a blind eye to that one, because better that than a bunch of wrecked race cars on the back straightaway.
Yeah, major speed difference. You just got to go figure it out, get around them.
I mean, 033 was just coming off of pit road. He was just getting up to speed, so we're talking probably about 50 miles per hour. You could see with the closing rate, that's about 50 miles per hour difference right there. Well, he got back on the lead lap with that caution, did Chuck McClure. We've seen this so many times, his ability to work his way from the back to the front. Some drivers just have the talent for seeing where the momentum is, maybe even creating the momentum themselves. And he's now cracked his way up into the top 15, looking to move his way back up into the top 10 after some connection gremlins in the opening laps.
Two-time defending champion for a reason there.
One of those drivers that took the wave around and had to pit, John Godfrey, got hit with a black flag during his pit stop, came back down to serve it, and it looks like he may have sped on the pass-through lap as well.
Oh,
Race officials have disqualified the 7-Eleven. He'll finish 40th place here tonight. That's a tough break there for Godfrey. John came into tonight's race, I believe, down around that cut line. Actually, he was the cut line driver, 30th in the standings, so it is all but guaranteed he will have to race his way into next week's field on speed as Donnie Garrett is in. This is what I was talking about. We could have gone to about 5 to go, but all these drivers, oh no!
Nofsker gets into Causey.
A couple of former winners this season getting into each other.
Yeah, I was concerned about there. Nofsker came in there awfully hot. Didn't know if he was able to slow it down in time, and then ended up getting into the back of Kelly Causey accidentally there. And
See, now that doesn't bring out a yellow, but that's still considered an incident, so he'll have to serve that, right?
Yep, I believe so.
Yeah.
And both had pit stalls close towards the entrance of pit lane, too. Causey rolled off the grid from 30th, Nofsker from 32nd, so they would have had to whoa up pretty quickly there. Races like this when you're happy that you had a win in your hip pocket in previous weeks.
comes Ken Roberts up at
no,
row.
Hewitt.
Boy.
Hagley's
No, that's
around, got one
Hagley.
up the track. Glenn Harris
Glenn
up
Harris.
the racetrack on the racing surface.
This is
Will
a
this bring
mess.
out a yellow? It
Not
only
yet.
will if there's oncoming traffic, and there's
Not
not.
yet.
We stay green.
That is unbelievable right there. That did not bring out a caution. He was
Yeah, there was nobody
was completely
coming, right?
backwards.
I think that's probably why there was nobody in danger of hitting him, so they leave the green up.
Glenn could not make
Oof.
pit road. Certainly
Scary.
have to hope he's got enough fuel to make another lap. Now
There's
the
a
caution's
caution.
out. We got a wreck on the back straight
Grant
away.
Wesley, Michael Norman.
Jeff Crivello as well. There's a lot of damage on that
Wow.
88. He was in third when they crossed the line. This was right up at the front of the field.
Did they come up on some cars exiting pit road? Is what I want to know.
Racing back. Might be the 24. The 024 of McCarthy is your race leader. Runs down to Spirito at the line.
Oh my.
Oh yeah, the 28 of Pagula came back right in front of Bob Seminara and Grant Wesley.
Yeah, well, I was watching pit stops there, so we're going to rewind and see what happened on the back straightaway.
I'm almost wondering if there might have been some miscommunication or late communication. Paglia looked like he was going to stay to the inside, and then when the leaders came up on him, I don't know if there was a call for him to go up and yield the inside line to the leaders because he makes that late move up, but it's already too late. Despirito has gone to the outside, and my goodness, that was a big hit there for Grant Wesley and Jeff Crivello. Michael Norman got a piece of it, along with Tim Anderson, Brian Lovell.
Two of our top three in points involved in that crash right there, Wesley and Norman.
In span of, what, about a lap and a half? All three former winners involved in something. Nofsker, Causey on pit road, Wesley here on the track.
Norman got hit a couple of times. He got into the 033, and then Wesley spins back up the track right in front of him right there. So that's a tough break for a lot of guys right there.
A bunch of other drivers able to get through. I think Ulysses Sandoval, I think we can add him to the list of drivers that got involved. He got clipped in the left rear quarter panel by Wesley.
Saw Bob Seminara in the back of the 28 and curious if he has any damage or not.
So for most of those drivers that came to pit road, this caution is very timely for them because they should have been able to get their service done, remain on the lead lap, and as everybody else pits, they should cycle to the front of the field. 28 of Mark Paglia is sitting down on the apron. I believe that's going into turn 3. I don't know if he's waiting for the pace car to catch or if he is out of fuel. I'm honestly surprised with him sitting there that he has not been towed to pit road yet.
I'm getting no engine sound from being inside the car. But he would have called for a tow truck by now, I would think.
Yeah, one would certainly think so.
Shift
Unless
T.
he's waiting for a push, maybe? I don't know. But during that pit stop as well, of the drivers that came down pit road, Nofsker got hit with a black flag for speeding. Now, he will be able to come down pit road and clear that here under caution, but it will send him to the tail end of the longest line for this upcoming restart. And we're going to be getting this restart, I don't know, probably around 5 to go. That's not a whole lot of time to be able to make up ground.
Some interesting things have happened this evening. Some wild pitting and cars yielding in different directions. But see, Paglia was low because he's probably lining up a pit stop. And then maybe being told to go high, and then, like you said, some miscommunication. And because it's preferable that cars being lap stayed to the right, but if you're lining up a pit stop, he's coming in 3 and 4. He has to be down there to get to the pits. So,
and normally the rule of thumb is when you're coming off of pit lane, the drivers have the luxury of being able to merge up into turn 1, but you stay down below that lowest white hash mark there, run the low line at least through 1 and 2 when there's oncoming traffic. And then once the leaders get around you, then you can make your way higher up onto the racing surface, preferably when you're coming off of 2 onto the back straightaway. He was, it seemed, down on that inside line to start with, but then began migrating his way up the racetrack, which I'm assuming was because more than likely the drivers behind him were going to come to pit road within that next lap or 2. But again, it just seemed like it was last-minute miscommunication that led to that incident. And you talk about interesting things happening here tonight. With the Nofsker incident on pit road, Michael Norman, Grant Wesley involved in that incident. With less than 10 to go, the top 3 in the point standings, all with issues here in the closing stages. And I mentioned the points are so close. This is an opportunity here potentially for a Chuck McClure or a Josh Metallic or a Ken Roberts, who are up here going to restart inside of the top 10, top 15 to capitalize, maybe be the new points leader going into next week.
You can see here the 41 is your race leader with a bunch of cars in front of him. Why is that? Well, that's the wave around guys, or plus a couple of lucky dogs.
That's quite the recovery there for Denny Carroll. We saw him spin out coming to pit road. One of the rounds of green flag pit stops earlier tonight, and now he's out front here with less than 10 laps to go.
And it wasn't exactly the caution that they were looking for. The timing is a little off, but we established that those drivers that took the wave around under the last yellow, once they made their pit stops, they could make it the rest of the way on fuel. So Ron Hagelin, Robert Breedlove, Brian Lovell, Tim Anderson, Craig Hagley, they will all get back on the lead lap, should be able to make it the rest of the way. I think they would have liked to have had about double the laps that we're going to have here to be able to make forward progress, but at least they will be on the tail end of the lead lap, and they can be able to try and gain some spots which translate to points here in what will be the final run to the finish. Now, in seasons past, we would have been crossing over right here into what we dub the point of no return, where the next flag would end the race. They do have the EXC that allows them to be able to add or subtract caution laps as they please, but I think with the fact that we're going to be going back green here with 4 laps to go, we might, even with that EXC, I think we might be into point of no return territory. More than likely, any incident between this upcoming restart and the checkered flag is going to ultimately end this race. So 36 drivers will be on the lead lap. 39 drivers still running here at the conclusion. The only driver out of the race John Godfrey. As Denny Carroll, who 2 seasons ago picked up his first victory here on Thursday nights and won his way into the playoffs. Last season, through consistency, he pointed his way into the playoffs. And now with an opportunity to pick up his second win in the last 3 seasons. Keith Bynum, who's still looking for his first victory on Thursday night, is going to share the front row. Greg Palmer, the highest of the Fords, will line up in third. Highest Toyota, Doug Hewlick in fourth. Then Greg Lovell, Ken Roberts, Randy Waugh.
Luigi.
I feel like we haven't said that enough here tonight. He's up in the 7th position with Billy Elliser, Donnie Garrett, and Robert Spring. That is your top 10 for what is looking like going to be the final restart of the night here. Race number 4 of the Talladega Challenge Series.
No pressure.
Green flag waves, pretty even start on both sides of the front row. Maybe a little bit of a push from Greg Palmer to Denny Carroll. Carroll gets clear for the lead. A little indecisive there. Now we'll move up to that middle groove in front of Bynum. Whoa, look at the shove he got. My goodness. Hang on to her, Denny.
Clobbering time. That's why we run moderate damage. They can take it. Didn't take them long to start going 3 wide back there.
That's Brian Schilling up there. Robert Spring jumps up. Kelly Causey jumps up. They're slicing and dicing from top to middle, middle to bottom. 3 to go this time by.
Bynum all over Carroll right there. Trying to clear 22, not going to be able to. They're going to be side by side for second. Palmer getting a good push there from the 880.
Couple of blue ovals locked up there on that inside line. Greg Lovell lost a little bit of ground at that middle line down the back straightaway. Is Bynum able to get about half a car length up on the 22? But Denny Carroll right now firmly in control. Got to keep an eye on the momentum on that inside line, though. Get down to cover just in case Palmer makes a move.
Oh, boy. There we go.
Caution's going to come out. Race is going to end, and Denny Carroll's all by his lonesome. Crossing the start-finish line for 2 to go, and we've got cars airborne. We got cars flipping. The front straightaway is littered.
Just focus on Denny. He's all by himself.
Forget the big one. That was the huge one.
That was the massive one.
The bigger one, yeah.
Graham McDonald ended up on his roof. Looks like he had to call a tow back to pit road. We knew it was going to get crazy here, and maybe an errant bump through the trial will ended up leading to potentially the biggest wreck of the season so far.
How did Donnie Garrett get through that?
We're going to look.
Now, the interesting thing, the timing of this yellow, where it took place, the caution would have come out before Denny Carroll crossed the line to receive the caution, and a number of drivers slid across the start-finish line. So I'm not certain if where they crossed the line, whether it was facing the right way or the wrong way, if they're going to be able to keep those positions or not.
A couple cars got upside down right there. The 33, Graham McDonald, and I think the 8 as well.
Yeah, I think Graham gets a hit from Ron Hagelin that sends him into Glenn Harris that flips him over. Somebody else, I couldn't catch who it was. The back end of their car came up in the air but did settle back down. It might have been either DeSpirito or Negron. Oh, no, it was Billy Elliser.
Yeah, Elliser sticking straight up there. Wow.
Roof flaps catching the air there, lifting the back end of that car off the ground. You mentioned about Donnie Garrett being able to somehow make his way through. He ended up crossing the line in second. Josh Metallic in third. So tentatively, they'd be the podium finishers behind Denny Carroll. Looks like Greg Lovell and Brian Schilling might have also been able to just get through, though I think Brian needed the assistance of the outside wall to keep him pointed in the right direction.
Tony, seeing Donnie Garrett make his way through that wreck reminds me of like a, back in the old NASCAR Thunder games, one of those wreck avoidance challenges right there. I mean, he did that one to perfection.
It looks like pretty much the top 5 runners right now were the only ones to get through the incident. Only 4 of them without contact. Schilling's got a little bit of damage on the right side of his Kellogg's throwback. And it's looking like, I believe that they are allowing drivers to still stay in the positions they were in, even if they slid across the start-finish line. Dennis McCarthy in 6th, Jeremy Jeffries in 7th, Robert Spring in 8th. I know these drivers all were sliding across the start-finish line there, coming to the caution. So,
it's kind of an odd rolling right there.
Yeah, everybody having to kind of figure out exactly where they're supposed to be. The last time by, it was the white flag display. This time by, checkered flag display. 2 seasons ago, he got his first career victory. Here tonight, he'll get his second victory in the Talladega Challenge Series. Denny Carroll becomes the 4th different winner here in season 68 as he survives the chaos through the tri-oval to go to victory lane here tonight. 3rd win for the Chevrolet manufacturer this season, and 2nd season in the last 3 that Denny will lock himself into the playoffs through a checkered flag.
Stay tuned for post-race interviews. We'll be looking at that accident, that's for sure, in an instant replay, so.
This is a big victory for Denny Carroll as well. And the fact that coming into tonight, he had made all 3 starts, 2 races. He did not reach the conclusion. He was 36th in points coming into tonight. He had to race his way into the field. He will not have to do so next week. Easily going to be up above that 30th in the standings cut line.
That just sounds really weird right there. Somebody that's been in the playoffs the last 2 seasons had to qualify in on time. Shouldn't have to worry about that after this, though.
Don't know if the points are close enough for this victory to propel him up into the top 20 in the standings, which of course is what he will be looking to do next week, to at least get into a wild card spot for this with this victory. But you know he's going to want more than that. He wants to qualify his way in via the top 16 in the standings, and there's still plenty of season to do it. We don't even cross the halfway threshold of the regular season until halfway through next week's race.
He did a nice burnout right there on the start-finish line. Looks like he's going to do a Polish victory lap now. Well, maybe not a full one.
Oh, look out. Pace car.
Pace car. David Cannon had enough of that.
Denny started this race deep in the field, 29th position, and led 7 laps here tonight. But up front when it mattered the most, and watched the chaos ensue in the rearview mirror. We're going to be talking with him down in victory lane momentarily. Let's see if we can dial a couple of the other survivors from that big wreck through the tri-oval. See if we can get a hold of our 3rd place finisher here tonight, Josh Metallic. Hey, Josh, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I got you.
Wild race here tonight. We saw a little bit of everything, and it came down to that final run to the race-ending yellow, that massive wreck through the tri-oval. Number of drivers did a yeoman's job of getting through, including yourself there. First off, how were you able to find the path to be able to make your way through the chaos? And then secondly, be able to finish this race with a solid third place performance, because there were several points in this race that we saw you have to save the race car, or we saw you mid-pack trying to catch up after green flag pit stops.
Yeah, man, I just went low when that wreck happened, and I bounced off somebody. I'm not even sure who it was. I think they wrecked, so I do feel bad for that. But it's basically everybody just scurrying, trying to get the heck out of the way. Went to the apron and managed to get through. And yeah, not sure what happened. And yeah, I should have wrecked earlier. I got a bump at the wrong time and got pretty sideways, and luckily Jeremy and the other guys gave me room to get back on track, and yeah, lost track position, but no damage, no yellow, so all good. And yeah, just right place, right time. If I'd been in the middle or upper groove and that wreck started, I might have been in a different spot, caught up with those other guys.
We saw you be a part of that group that came down pit road around 10 to go, a little outside the strategy of what other drivers might have tried to do had they been able to get to about 5 to go and take on a half can. Ultimately, the caution coming out helped you be able to cycle up there to the front of the field. Do you think that if the thing had continued green, that you would have had enough cars there, been able to execute enough that you guys would have still cycled to the front in the closing stage of this race? Or was the timing of that yellow flag pivotal to gaining you the track position that you needed late?
I think we were in really good shape if the yellow didn't come out. I'm not really sure where things would have played out if we gone green. I felt like I nailed the pit stop pretty good, and came out and didn't really see any of the guys that had pitted previously, except some guys pitted with me. So I think the yellow, and I could be wrong, but first I thought it really hurt us, and then I'm like, well, we're starting 14th or something. It's really not bad. So I think it was kind of a wash, because some of those guys that pitted the next lap, we were going to be way ahead of them, and they got up to speed at the start finish line, and we had to fall back behind them all. So it cost us some spots, but in the end, obviously, it worked out. So I'll take a top 3 any night.
Able to execute here tonight as well. We saw a number of drivers that came into this evening's race up there at the top of the point standings run into issues. Nofsker with a speeding penalty, Grant Wesley, Michael Norman involved in a couple of wrecks. It looks like Chuck McClure ended up getting swept up in that wreck as well, finishing 25th. So you gained a ton of ground. You came into this race, I believe, 28 points back in 5th. You will leave tonight only 8 points out of the points lead in 3rd position, so gaining a ton of ground there, and in the conversation maybe next week to head into the second half of the regular season as the overall points leader. Mentioned earlier on tonight that only a few drivers have really been able to establish consistency over the course of the first 3 races. With this run here tonight, how good does it feel as far as the consistent momentum you've been able to have here first half of the regular season?
Yeah, it was last week was side-by-side finish for 3rd and 4th, got 4th. This week, side-by-side for 3rd and 4th, got 3rd. So 2 top 4s last 2 weeks. I didn't get any halfway points. We were trying tonight, I didn't get any, so we'll see where that shakes out. I'm not sure who was ahead of us in the top 10, but I think I got the halfway point 12th or 13th, so may lose a few points when they get those added, but yeah, top 3, top 4, whatever it is, it's definitely a good spot to be, and I'm taking all the luck as it comes, because usually the tables turn, karma kicks in, you get a couple bad finishes of no fault of your own, so enjoying it while it's good.
Well, so far it has been good for this number 39 machine. Another solid run for you here tonight, bringing it home on the podium. Congratulations on the great run, Josh, being able to make your way through that last wreck and put yourself 3rd place here this evening. Some good momentum going into the second half of the regular season. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Thank you. Yeah, shout out to Rodney, who's not here tonight. He'll be back next week. Family and friends in real life comes first, so he told us he'd be gone, obviously. And then Tim, obviously, me and him running it tonight. We get a lot of help from the other admins, so even with the incident report, I'm sure we'll have plenty of help if or when needed. Prime, Jeremy, Sheck, the other owners, all the other admins and drivers. I hate sending guys home, but we're doing that again, unfortunately. So it's a good problem to have, but you still feel bad each time it happens. So, yeah, good season, good start, and thanks to you guys too. Blaine, Kyle, Seth, everyone that's up there throughout the season. Broadcasts are always fun to go back and watch. I will definitely be going back to see all the chaos of this one.
Well, congratulations on the job well done here tonight, Josh. Third place after the chaos of Talladega. Best of luck next week as we reach the halfway point of the regular season. Of course, that push towards the playoffs as well.
Thank you.
Josh Metallic, third in the running order, third in the point standings heading into next week. Let's see if we can dial up the driver that may have had one of the best drives through that wreck to net second place tonight. Let's get a hold of Donnie Garrett. Hey, Donnie, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I got a copy.
Man, I'll tell you what, Kyle very perfectly described it. Those NASCAR games back in the mid-2000s always had that challenge where you had to get through a wreck without any contact whatsoever. And you did exactly that there through the tri-oval, able to make your way by, bring this thing home in the second position. It's been a tough start to the season for you, but here this evening, able to bring it home on the podium, jump up in the point standings as well. Gotta feel good. I know you want that one position more in that victory, but after the first three races, how good does it feel to bring this thing home on a high note P2?
Oh, I'll tell you, it's a big burden lifted off of me. I've been averaging about, I think 34th, 34th, and 39th or something in qualifying, and you just can't go nowhere. And that's what I hate about these random qualifyings. But then again, tonight I was 18th, so it worked back out tonight, and was able to get up to the front pretty quick and kind of hang around up there all night. And like I say, top 5, top 10 on the death, and just riding along, just trying, I knew I needed a good finish because I'm going to miss. I'll be in the Caribbean the last two races of the season, or the regular season. So I got to get some points. Like I say, I ain't worried about the wins. I'm more worried about the points. And so like I say, just riding along and come out pretty good tonight. Yeah, that's true. The seas parted for me there in that wreck.
We were talking just moments ago with Josh Metallic, who came to pit road with a group of cars around 10 to go for the final pit stop of the night. You were a part of that group as well, so I'm going to ask you a similar question. You guys came down with a good number of drivers, but if we had trended green the rest of the way, the rest of the others more than likely going to be pitting around 5 to go, do you think you had enough numbers and you would have had enough speed to cycle up to the front, or do you think the timing of that yellow coming out when you guys were in the middle of completing your pit stops, that cycled you up to the front and gave you a better chance at this victory?
I had Jeremy on my tail when we come out, and we were flying around there, and so I think me and Jeremy might have been leading that thing for where we went in. So yeah, I think we were fine. But I was kind of worried when that caution come out because I'm like, who ain't pitted or whatever. But we still ended up. I think we restarted 9th, I think, and went in 3rd or 4th, and come out 9th after that caution. So not too bad. Sometimes on them things you'll end up way back there, but we got lucky on that one, and then just like I say, just rode along and just trying to get a good finish. Top 10 would have been fine with me, but like I said, just riding along, and the car in that top line, they got to moving around and it started bumping, and like I say, they just, I don't know, they won't stay straight, and just to try to get these guys to listen, man, stay straight, stay square, and we couldn't get rid of that bottom line because they just would not stay straight. So but anyway, it come out second, and hey, good night, good points night.
I want to touch on that just a little bit because we saw during the course of the evening, maybe more so than we've seen in these first three races. I think you yourself was actually in the middle of having to gather up the race car at one point after a shove. We won't even call it a bump. I remember some drivers commenting last season. We obviously know that the Men Cup 2019 mod is one of the easiest mods to be able to super speedway race, to be able to line up the bumpers, to be able to push. But we've also had drivers comment that on the flip side, it makes it very difficult to move the respective lines forward. They all seem to kind of cancel each other out. Are we starting to get a sense as a driver here that maybe we're resorting to more shoving to get the lines moving here? Because it seems like a lot of cars were really squirrely tonight.
Yeah, you have to, because you got these guys. I'm not trying to talk bad about nobody. But you got these guys can't hold line, and they'll be up there and they'll come off the corner and they'll go clear up a lane, and then you're backing off thinking, it's gonna be a wreck, and then you can't go nowhere. And if they just, again, stay square to the guy in front of you, that's all you got to do. It's that simple. Just stay square to the guy in front of you, and you'll be fine. If you got a setting problem, go talk to somebody. There's guys tonight. There was one, I forget who it was, but man, he slid clear up into the second lane, and the guy that was in the second lane had to go up almost to the wall to keep from letting him hit him. Thank God, or we'd have been in that wreck. But just these guys need to tighten their cars up, and every once in a while you slide off the corners. I mean, that does happen. These cars do tend to do that. Depending on how you get into the corner and get off the corner or through the center of the corner, sometimes they will slide out a little bit on you. But for the most part, these cars are pretty easy to drive. And when you got a line and it looks like a snake going down through there, that's not a fast line. I can name 5 guys. I can put them together with me, and we put us on the bottom, and we'll pull away from people because we understand square, cut a chalk line down the side of us. Let's go. And those are the guys that are good. Those are the guys that go to the front because they understand how to draft, not sliding all over the place, and just tighten them up. Just tighten them cars up and they'd be fine.
Well, Donnie, a great run for you here tonight. As you say, going to try to accumulate those points here as we progress through the regular season with those couple of races that you're going to be missing. Maybe next week we see you get that one position better and get those maximum points as we enter into the second half of the regular season. But for now, we'll now give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yes, well, thank you guys. And I got a couple of my employees watching tonight. I think my sister Diane Pooty's watching. And so I got some fans out there tonight watching, and hope I put on a pretty good show for them tonight. And I think all the admins over here do such a great job, so fair. And like I said, just hopefully this is a turnaround to my season for what it's been. I've been in about every wreck there was, but hopefully it's been a turnaround, and we can start marching forward like we should.
Well, as you say, hopefully this is indeed the turning point. A solid second place run, able to skate through that final wreck, coming to what was the race ending caution and gaining some very valuable points here tonight as well. Congratulations, Diane, the great run. Best of luck here the remainder of the regular season as you attempt to push for the playoffs.
Woo!
Donnie Garrett, your second place finisher here tonight, the Nature Boy. Going to gain 7 spots in the standings after that runner-up finish, and that was his first top 5, his first top 10 on the season, ladies and gentlemen. That's how tough a start to the year it has been for him. Another driver that's had a struggling start to the season is parked down in Victory Lane. Let's dial up tonight's race winner, Denny Carroll.
Also, unofficial point standings after that race are now scrolling on the screen. So, like I said, unofficial, but there they are.
Okay. Let's see if we can get a hold of Denny down Victory Lane. Denny's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man, I'll tell you what, if ever a driver needed a victory here tonight, or at least needed some really good points, it would be your Chevrolet. Came into tonight 36th in the stands. You had to race your way into tonight's field on speed. But now you've got that victory. You're second in the last 3 seasons. You move up to 23rd in points. We talked just moments ago with Donnie Garrett, who also has had a struggling start to the year and feels this is a turning point. Do you feel that maybe you finally have turned the corner of that bad luck, and now this home stretch towards the end of the regular season and the playoffs, this is going to start getting that consistency back?
I hope so. I mean, what happened tonight was luck, because I don't qualify good at Talladega for some reason. And on the first round of green flag pit stops, I got punted going into the pits, and it messed my tires up, and I didn't. And then that caution come out and saved me. Well, I never changed my tires to keep getting track position, and I was about to have a left front blowout on that last run, and I didn't change them.
Yeah, we mentioned about you having to come back from that spin on pit road as well. Obviously, with what we've seen in these first 3 races, we've had a little bit of everything from start to finish. So expectations coming into tonight were, not having a clue what to expect. With having that early adversity, how difficult was it to kind of just keep your head in the game and wait to see if everything could fall into place?
Well, for some reason this season, I have had no consistency on Thursday. And the last pit stop, I was 1 lap short of being able to take a half a can of gas. So I took a half a can anyway. And I was going to bank on a caution, because if not, I didn't have a race winning car.
We ended up seeing this race ultimately end under yellow. Certainly had to be a relief to you to look in the rearview mirror, see the incident happening behind you rather than around you, and able to pick up the victory. But if we had had those last couple of laps under green, looked like you and the 63 were working really well together. You were doing a good job of keeping an eye on both lanes. Do you think you could have made that bumper wide enough to keep them all at bay and still be parked in victory lane tonight?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I had my mind made up. It was bring home the checkers or the steering wheel.
Well, you got to bring home the checkers here tonight, indeed. Your second trip to victory lane. We saw you a couple of seasons ago get your first victory here in the Talladega Challenge Series. You now are a multi-time winner on Thursday nights, and looks like right now you're only roughly about, I think, looks like 4 points. No, correction. Looks like 9 points out of the top 20 in the stands. So this victory, as long as you get above that cut line, you're in one of at least the wild card spots to battle for the championship. But no, certainly you want to get up into that top 16. So a great job here tonight, able to get a bunch of those points back that you've missed out on in the first 3 races. And we'll let you get back to your celebrating in a minute. But first, we'll give you the microphone for Victory Lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shout outs, Denny.
Just thank you guys for putting these races on, and RTG for letting me race here. There's a lot of great drivers here. These races are hard to get a top 10, much less a win. And I guess a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. And just thank everybody over here that races, and a bunch of great guys. And I'd like to say howdy to Corey, Randy's boy. He watches these races. And howdy, Corey. And see you guys.
That's Denny Carroll. He is your winner here tonight. 4th different winner on the season, as he is parked in victory lane at the conclusion of race number 4. Congratulations on the great run, Denny, and hopefully this is the start of getting the season turned around. More consistent finishes to come in these final 5 regular season races.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I usually don't. I have good luck at being consistent. Usually anywhere I race, but for some reason on Thursdays this season, my races, they've been all over the place.
Well, we wish you the best of luck here in your push for the playoffs. Congratulations on the win here tonight. Go enjoy it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, RTG.
Denny Carroll, 4th different driver to go to victory lane. 3 wins for Chevy, 1 win for Dodge. And we mentioned starting off the evening, Kyle, not exactly sure what to expect. How about the fact that 2 of our podium finishers here tonight, not even the fact that Denny got his first win of the season, the fact that Donnie Garrett and Denny got their first top 5 of the season, they both just scored their first top 10 of the season 4 races in.
Yeah, these are 2 guys that were racing for the championship last season. Donnie Garrett was one of the final 4. So yeah, it just goes to show you how competitive and how much of a struggle it can be, even for some of the best ones out there.
Point standings continue to close up. Grant Wesley sits only 3 points behind Tim Knopsker. Josh Metallic, who we just talked with his 3rd place performance, 8 points back. Despirito will move up 4 positions to 4th. Michael Norman will drop to 5th, only 24 points separating the top 5. And like we predicted, there were a lot of movers and shakers with the points as close as they are going into next week. But I think that here tonight, definitely we ended up getting a bit of a humbling reminder when we saw Knopsker have the pit road issues. Wesley and Norman get involved in that wreck. Doesn't matter where you are in the points. It doesn't matter how many strings of top 5s or top 10s you put together. Nobody is safe when it comes to super speedway racing. And with that extra regular season race added in here, we normally have 8, but this season we have 9. We've got those halfway points. It seems like every single race now is crucial and is going to play a pivotal part into who we eventually have as our at least 16 drivers once the playoffs roll around.
Yeah, and I can't believe all the issues that we saw on pit road tonight. I mean, usually we don't see nearly that many. We may see 1 or 2, but man, pit road was awfully chaotic tonight, and a lot of drivers suffered because of it.
This was just the first half of the season. Next week, we'll be making the halfway threshold jump into the second half of the regular season, and we know that the closer we end up getting to the regular season finale, depending on where you are in points, the desperation level maybe starts to rise. So after what we've seen in these first 4 races, it's just out there in terms of what we can expect to see in these 5 races yet to come.
Yeah, we got, there's a lot of things on the driver's mind, as we mentioned earlier during the race. I mean, there's the points, there's trying to win the race, and then next week the bracket challenge starts. So it's even more pressure for these guys.
Absolutely. Well, that's what makes us very lucky we're up here in the booth to be able to observe it rather than have to deal with the stress that these drivers do on a weekly Thursday night basis. But congratulations to Denny Carroll. He takes the checkered flag here tonight. Joins Tim Knopsker, Grant Wesley, and Kelly Causey as a winner here in season 68. Halfway point of the regular season starts next week, race number 5. Will we see a 5th different driver go to victory lane? We're going to have to wait and find out. As Kyle said, the bracket challenge kicks off next week, as well as we'll see the one-on-one battles all the way through the field amongst the top 32 in the point stands. It's going to be fun to keep track of that. And we thank you all for tuning into our coverage here tonight at Talladega Super Speedway. You guys enjoyed this race, be sure to join us right back here next Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on FRN and Tarnation TV. For Kyle Matthews, Blaine Donlin, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys next week as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flat Out Racing Network and Tarnation TV. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.